shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition. I got Fancy Brian in the Shaw. He's producing. I got Evan here in the world headquarters. He's lightly screening the calls. And we got you listening on the radio. And Fancy Brian, got a fine guest joining just a little bit later in the show. Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire. New national Supreme Court polling is out. And we're going to be joined by Charles in like 23 minutes. So please make a note of it. Please stick around for Charles Franklin. But I have to speak again, you know, because unfortunately this tragic murder is dominating the headlines. We got to go there. And my fear is, you know, I always hear these politicians saying, this is not who we are as a nation. It's not who we are. But here's the problem. Yes, this is absolutely who we are. It is. We'll talk more about that. Little thing happened this afternoon in Texas. Obviously, this murder, this 18-year-old that apparently started buying up AR-15s immediately after his 18th birthday, and within a matter of days, went on this murderous rampage, killed a bunch of elementary school students. And Beto O'Rourke, and he was the congressman from Texas, presidential candidate, and now gubernatorial candidate from Texas. He went out and he confronted the sitting governor, Greg Abbott. And I'm not trying to be ironic. Greg Abbott seated at a podium. And there were local officials from the scene of this tragedy. But O'Rourke went after Greg Abbott. And I just want to set the stage for a minute. Now, the NRA is going deep in the heart of Texas this Friday, having their national convention. And a couple of very famous speakers. Well, you got Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. Apparently, Senator John Cornyn from Texas. He's a late scratch, you know, conflict unrelated to the shooting, he claims. And you got the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott will be a keynote speaker at the NRA convention in Houston on Friday. And of course, the former president, Donald Trump, he'll be there. And after the news of this tragic, murderous rampage broke yesterday, Abbott did a little press conference. First, he addressed some wildfires in Texas. And then he talked about the shooting. And then he went to a fundraiser, as all good politicians do. He'll cash in some checks for himself because he's running for re-election. Now, today his campaign said, well, we're putting the politics on hold. Today we are. You know, they already collected the checks last night, Fancy Brian. Makes it easier to put a little pause on today. And anyways, want to start today with the sound of former Congressman Beto O'Rourke confronting Greg Abbott, doing so in Texas. Let's do it from the rundown. The first one's going to sound a little quiet because Beto's not on a microphone. He's confronting him from the crowd and then approaches the seated podium. Cut number one, Beto O'Rourke and Greg Abbott.
Get out of here. Yeah, Beto.
Beto, what do you have to say? What do you have to say, Beto?
This is not the place to do that.
What do you have to say, sir?
This is on you until you choose to do something different. This will continue to happen. Somebody needs to stand up for the children of this state, or they will continue to be killed, just like they were killed in Uvalde yesterday.
Okay. Texas Democratic gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke confronted Texas Governor Greg Abbott at a press conference in Uvalde on Wednesday, following an elementary school shooting that left 21 dead, including 19 children. Abbott had been providing information on mental health in the wake of the shooting when O'Rourke rushed up to the podium. "You're doing nothing," O'Rourke said, only a few feet away from Abbott. "You said this was not predictable. This was totally predictable, and you choose not to do anything." Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin could be heard yelling, "Sir, you're out of line. Please leave this auditorium. You're out of line," McLaughlin shouted. "I can't believe you're a sick son of a bitch who would come to a deal like that to make a political issue." And then O'Rourke was escorted out of the auditorium, and he addressed the waiting press. And we've got some of that sound as well. I have not heard this sound, so we'll all hear it together. Let's play more of Beto. He felt like he had to do something. Cut 2.
Why are we letting this happen in this country? Why is this happening in this state? Year after year, city after city. This is on all of us if we do not do something, and I am going to do something, and I'm not alone.
Cut number 3, I believe, Beto O'Rourke.
We could have stopped this if we had stood up after Santa Fe High School. If we had stood up after El Paso, we are going to stop the next one.
We're going to stop the next one, he claims. Cut number 4, Beto O'Rourke.
This is on all of us if we do not do something, and I am going to do something, and I'm not alone. The people of Texas are with us. The majority of the people of Texas are with us, but we've got to stand up to this, or we just accept this theater and business as usual, and we accept the next shooting.
We could have stopped this, according to Beto O'Rourke. Cut number 5, please.
We could have stopped this if we had stood up after Santa Fe High School. If we had stood up after El Paso, we are going to stop the next one. We're standing up right here in Uvalde, Texas, right now.
Okay, now O'Rourke tries to make the point about, this should not be a partisan issue. You see if it's effective. Cut number 6, please.
I could care less whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, to stand up right now for yourself, for your kids, for our families.
And one more from former Congressman Beto O'Rourke in Texas today after confronting Greg Abbott, the current governor of Texas. Cut number 7, please.
The governor talks about mental health. It is insane that we allow an 18-year-old to go in and buy an AR-15. What the hell did we think he was going to do with that?
What indeed? Paul Waldman at the Washington Post. I don't know that I'll be able to work all the way through this. Got a fine guest coming at 3:30. But the headline here, yes, this absolutely is who we are. I'm going to read from his column. Other than thoughts and prayers, there is no bigger lie. We are told in the wake of yet another mass shooting than this is not who we are. We hear it again and again, usually from Democratic politicians claiming that if we could look deep within and be our true core of national goodness, we can come together to stop the pile of dead bodies from growing ever higher. But this is exactly who we are. We are the place with more guns than people, where tens of thousands are murdered every year, and where arguments over parking spaces end in death. We're the place where much of the gun legislation that passes ensures that almost anyone can take guns almost anywhere. We're the place where candidates for office show their cultural bona fides by popping off rounds in a campaign ad. Pardon me. We are not England or France or Canada or Denmark or Japan or Portugal or any other country. In those places, parents send their kids to school worried that they might catch a cold or struggle with a math problem or face bullying. They don't worry that someone will come into their child's classroom with a weapon of war and tear their little bodies apart. Nor do their children themselves have that worry. But here in the United States, an entire generation has grown up doing drills in case someone enters their school and tries to kill them. They huddle in closets, barricade doors, hear lectures about what they might throw at an armed killer to slow him down. They practice and practice each time its own kind of trauma, so that if and when their school is added to the long list, Columbine High School, Sandy Hook Elementary School, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, Robb Elementary School, perhaps they will be the lucky ones who make it out alive. This is who we are. All of us living under a cloud of violence and murder. The roots of this insanity go back far, but today it is maintained by the party that has leveraged its minority rule to make sure virtually no limits are imposed on guns, which it fetishizes and worships and celebrates. So with bodies still being gathered, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas goes on TV to say that the solution to the next mass killing is that we have to harden these targets. He was not talking about a forward operating base in a war zone. He's talking about elementary schools. This weekend, the NRA will hold its annual meeting in Houston. Speakers, including former President Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, will regale the crowd with tales of their passion for putting as many guns in the hands of as many people as possible. Guns will be stroked and admired and held aloft in triumph. Just 2 weeks ago, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a California law that forbade anyone younger than 21 from buying a semi-automatic rifle. In a 2-1 decision, 2 judges appointed by Trump wrote passionately of the importance of allowing 18-year-olds to buy AR-15s. Here's from their ruling. America would not exist without the heroism of young adults who fought and died in our Revolutionary War. Today, we reaffirm that our Constitution still protects the right that enabled their sacrifice, the right of young adults to keep and bear arms. If an 18-year-old had to wait until he was 21 to buy an AR-15, could we truly call ourselves free? Come back. Devil's Advocates Radio, the Wednesday edition.
Never again. I say it. Never again.
You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Never again. I say it. Never again.
Play it again, son.
Never again. I say it. Never again.
Insane and
these are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
But Dom, we've been following a couple of big stories this week. Truck convoy leader has no idea where he is and is driving in circles around I-495. He didn't know precisely where he was going anyways or where he was at the time. Apparently, he put the convoy back on the road, headed back up north, and he's back in Scranton.
So I totally would have protested this tyranny, but damn, the traffic was so bad.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
When the sun refused to shine.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Wednesday edition. Got to find guys coming soon. He is pollster extraordinaire Charles Franklin. And I got up this morning, and it seemed like a lot like every other morning. You know, Crudy household custom. His dad gets him off to school. So I knocked on all the doors, made sure all the kids were brushing teeth, etc. Just two, but you know, feels like a handful. Feels like a passel. So I get him out the door and I drop him off near the high school, as is the Crudy custom. And I told him I loved them. And you know, I got the grunts and reply as the Crudy custom. And, you know, just another day in the life. You know, you do this every day. I do this every day. And what if all that changed one day? You know what I mean? What if that was my kid's school yesterday? You know, life ended. And not just a single life, obviously. 21 dead and 21 families, a whole community. They're changed forever. Changed forever for the worse, and this country continues to be changed and hardened and more cynical in each and every time. I mean, you know, how many schools have to get shot up before, you know, we can even change something on the fringes? We can't even make any effort that we're going to change anything. Republicans, Ron Johnson today, had him on the show a number of times. Ron today was confronted by Manu Raju, CNN, and he was walking down the senatorial hallway, apparently headed towards his office. And Manu Raju walked up to Ron Johnson and asked him, Ron, you know, can we do background checks? You know, started going through the couple of the litany of simple actions we could take. And Republicans will always tell you, well, it's not going to solve every problem. That one guy, that guy would have died because, you know, that one would have snuck through. Yeah, but we do nothing. That's our response. Nothing is the response. You know what Ron's response was, Fancy Brian? Ron tried to enter a locked door, like desperately trying to get away from answering a simple question on, can we do anything, Senator? Is there any line that we're willing to, you know, say not cross, like 21 more dead kids? Is there anything that might consider, you know, reining in the Second Amendment, any little part thereof? And Ron's action was to run away in a very courageous fashion. You know, I thought he'd run in, you know, whether or not he was armed, much like Trump, but no, he ran away from a reporter asking tough questions, because Ron's on the ballot this fall, and Ron doesn't want to answer these questions because Ron's more than willing to take the NRA money.
It's not just that. Alex Jones literally blamed the victims of shootings and said they were crisis actors, and he got more popular. Marjorie Taylor Greene echoed those sentiments, and she got elected.
Well, she just got reelected, at least through the primary process, Tuesday night. I want to bring a conclusion to the Waldman piece at the Washington Post, talking about the Supreme Court, the appeals court, a 2-1 ruling to Trump. Justices said you can't regulate the age at 21 of assault rifle ownership. And that's where I pick it up. The Republican supermajority on the Supreme Court will probably uphold that decision. Meanwhile, any day now, they'll likely hand out a ruling making it much harder for states and cities to restrict people from carrying guns in public. Heaven forbid that you couldn't pack heat at the supermarket or the gas station. Behold the insane logic of the perpetually armed society. We must let everyone have guns because so many people have guns. It's why police kill more than 8,000 Americans a year. They're always on a hair trigger, waiting to be shot at, so they shoot first. How can I defend my home without a few military-style rifles? as the gun advocate. The home invaders will be armed. And how can you go about your day without the ability to stand your ground and return fire? Republicans who keep us living in this nightmare would certainly prefer it if the lies they knowingly tell about guns were true. They'd be happy if the bad guys with the guns really were stopped by the good guys with guns. If more guns did make for less crime, and if all these guns made us the safest society on earth. But in the end, the fact that all those things are false does not change their minds. Tens of thousands of suicides and homicides committed with guns every year, punctuated by regular massacres of men, women, and children, are just the price they believe we have to pay for their version of freedom. Even if most of us don't agree, those who can leverage their power to keep the slaughter going. And that's what it will take to change things. Power, acquiring it and being willing to use it. Change will not come because we looked into our national heart and found goodness lying therein. The heart of America is not one thing. It is sometimes good and generous and wise, but it is also dark and hateful and murderous. This is who we really are, all of it. If for a moment you forget, just wait. In another few days, there'll be another massacre. Folks, we're at the Devil's Advocates. I got a fine guest, pollster extraordinaire. Charles Franklin joins me next. He's got some national polling. And we referenced that Supreme Court. You have to see if Charles asked any questions on, some of the future rulings, like guns. I suspect Roe v. Wade will be on the list. And, Fancy Brian, I'm going to give a little tease. Might shock you to find out the Supreme Court, much less popular than it was before the leak. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. Our fun guest, Charles Franklin.
For me and you, believe me, baby. I know it, baby. You know it too.
We're the ones who are acting suspicious and paranoid. We're the lunatics. Us. It's not them.
Insane and irresponsible.
A progressive voice in rural Wisconsin, WTTN 1580 AM is South Central Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
The greatest radio show ever could be your greatest advertising investment ever. Partner with the Devil's Advocates and activate our loyal, educated, and engaged audience today. In-show interviews and sponsored special events considered across Wisconsin. Affordable digital and terrestrial ads available in Chicago and Minneapolis and directly on the Devil Radio app. Make a deal with the Devils and get the Devil's Advocates pub to your bottom line. Call or text 844-967-2789 today.
This is Chad Spate. In 1992, I moved to Madison to pursue a PhD at UW, and I started a residential remodeling company called Chad's Carpentry. I was eager to make a difference, to change the world, and I soon realized that our remodeling company was a great place to start. We pride ourselves on understanding how houses work so that your home improvement project actually improves your home, and we love what we do. To learn more, go to chadsdesignbuild.com, and thank you, Matt.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished higher. The Dow up 191 points. Vaccine.
That's fine. The main thing
optimism.
is my TV
virus
got
cases
kicked back
soar in South America.
After a reprieve of months, confirmed
Nick,
cases of COVID-19, largely fueled by the BA2 version of the Omicron variant, are surging in the southern tip of South America. But officials in Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay hope high vaccination rates mean this latest wave will not be as deadly as previous ones. At the same time, there's concern that many people are not ready to once again take on the prevention measures that authorities say are needed to ensure cases remain manageable. I'm Charles Philadelphia.
New U.S. research on long COVID provides fresh evidence it can happen even after breakthrough infections in vaccinated people, and that older adults face higher risk for the long-term effects. The study says about 1/3 who had breakthrough infections showed signs of long COVID. I'm Ed Dottie.
I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-597-2010. That's 1-800-597-2010. 1-800-597-2010. Or go to selectquote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Tuesday, Racine County Circuit Judge John Frederickson tossed out a case brought by the village attorney for Mount Pleasant against a private citizen who had criticized village officials and the deal with Foxconn that has not been constructed despite infrastructure investments done by the community. The lawsuit alleged Kelly Gallagher, a private citizen, defamed the village attorney for critical comments that caused him, quote, emotional distress, which the judge threw out because of First Amendment protections citizens have to criticize work done by public officials. According to the executive director of the Republican Party of Wisconsin, all of the $2.3 million that was stolen from the party by hackers during the 2020 election cycle has been returned to the party. Hackers manipulated invoices, so the state party paid the $2.3 million to them rather than the vendors. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been announced as unanimous selection to the NBA's first team All-NBA for the fourth consecutive season. You're listening to Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a hump day edition. And we are joined right now live via Zoom by our good friend and fine pollster. He is Charles Franklin from the Marquette University Law School Polling. Charles, welcome back to the big show.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Charles, we're going to try to turn you up. Why don't you say one more thing for me real quick?
This is Charles Franklin. How's this coming through?
Well, we're getting a little better, Charles.
Okay.
So, I always appreciate you coming around when there's some brand new polling. It makes me excited. You get a little tingle up my legs, sir.
Well, let's not get too personal here.
Charles, let's talk about the new polling. And this polling is about the U.S. Supreme Court. And you've been doing some national polling on this very same topic of late. And specifically, a lot of it is affected by the leaked release of the probable overturning of Roe v. Wade. So first and foremost, how high was the awareness of the issue that's driving so much of this polling?
Yeah, of the leaked document or the potential opinion. About 40% said that they had read a lot about the opinion, and another 36% or so said they had read some, but about a quarter said they hadn't heard anything at all about it. So I think that's pretty good awareness, but it's certainly not universal, and certainly not in terms of going deeply into what the draft opinion has to say.
Now, it seemed to me that the partisans, the Dems and the Republicans, especially the Democrats, were far more aware of what was, had read a lot about this opinion, or at least somewhat. But the independents seem much less informed about this. We'll spare our opinions of independents for a moment, Charles, but was that surprising at all, or do a lot of issues sort of follow this pattern?
Well, a lot follows this, though. Whether Republicans or Democrats pay more attention to an issue does differ, of course, depending on the issue. Here, Democrats are noticeably more attentive to the leaked document. But on the other hand, folks who are in the strongest pro-life categories, anti-abortion categories, seem to be even more attentive to it. So it's kind of a mixed picture, with Democrats who are generally in favor of abortion rights paying more attention right now. The independents are folks that pay less attention to politics routinely, and on this particular issue, it's kind of marked how much less they've paid attention to this potential abortion decision compared to either Democrats or Republicans. Independents are about twice as likely to say they've heard nothing at all about it.
Now, Charles, I know most of your polling is directed towards the court, but I haven't read all the crosstabs. I'll admit I haven't done all the work yet, Charles. But do we have any sense, is this an engaging issue overall? Do we see people more or less likely to vote because of the Roe v. Wade or the specter of it being overturned?
Right. It's a pretty important issue for a lot of folks. That's not to say that it's the only issue for everybody, but in terms of the percentage of people who say this is one of the most important issues to them, that's fairly high. But again, it's not at all universal. And a fair number of people say it's not that important, or they're not aware of the issue. They say they haven't thought enough about it to have an opinion. So there is that group of folks who are not, laser focused on this issue. What we do see, though, is opinion of the court shifted pretty dramatically. Approval fell 10 points and disapproval went up 10 points. And in doing that, you see sharp polarization based on political party, based on ideology, and based on your view about whether Roe versus Wade should be overturned. So we see sharply greater Democratic disapproval of the court and an increase in Republican approval of the court. And so the parties have moved much further apart on that. Likewise, the split by ideology is greater, and the split by views on abortion rulings has gotten greater. There wasn't any change, though, in the percent of people that want to overturn Roe or the percent opposed to overturning it. So it didn't change opinion about abortion policy or legal rulings, but what it did do is massively expand our polarization on the issue in terms of how we see the Supreme Court.
Charles Franklin, my fine guest, pollster extraordinaire. Charles, begs the question, what is the current public sentiment on overturning Roe v. Wade?
It's heavily opposed to overturning it. In this latest polling, 69% oppose overturning Roe, 31% are in favor. And that's been very steady over the last couple of years. When we first asked this question in September of 2019, it was 32 in favor of overturning it, 68% opposed. So a one percentage point difference on this issue since 2019, and no systematic shifts over time, just a little bit of bouncing around in the numbers by a point or three.
Now, Charles, I heard you reference the fact that you'd seen like a 10-point swing. Was that 10-point swing after the Roe v. Wade, the leaked draft opinion? Because it seems,
yes,
if I look back even historically a couple of years, Charles, it's not just 10 points that the opinion of the court has slipped. So clarify for me.
No, sorry. That's a great point. That's a great point. I just mentioned 2019. If we look at that data in September of 2019, when abortion opinion was the same as now, 66% approved of the job the court was doing. Now, that poll was done the week before Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. So it was before she left the court and Amy Coney Barrett was appointed to the court. But even in July of last summer, 60% approved of the job the court was doing. But then at the end of August, the court refused to block the Texas 6-week ban on abortion. They said, we're not going to rule on that, and sent it back to the lower courts. At that point, we saw an 11-point drop in approval of the court immediately after that non-decision on the Texas law. Then in the meantime, the numbers improved by 5 points or so for the court, but still well below where they had been. And now after this leak, compared to March of this year to May of this year, another 10-point drop. So over this almost 2.5-year period, a drop from 66% approval to 44% approval, a 22-point drop in approval of the court. And you can kind of see that happening in two stages, from before Ginsburg died to last summer to after the Texas non-ruling to now after the leaked opinion. Now, sometime in June, close to July, we'll get the official ruling on this case, and we'll see whether the leaked opinion really was what they decide or whether something's different. But if it goes with what was leaked, it sure looks like we will just see more polarization on this issue, even if it doesn't shift people between pro-choice and pro-life positions.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. I've got Marquette University Law School polling professor Charles Franklin. He is our in-house pollster, at least outhouse pollster that we bring it. That didn't come out right, Charles.
I've never been called an outhouse pollster before, but I'm not sure it's entirely wrong.
Well, that's how you end up oversampling those Republicans, Charles.
I know how you feel about that.
Charles, let's talk about some of the issues that the specific ruling, and I know you did poll on some of the issues important to the electorate, the constitutional issues that are affected by the courts, but the lack of enumerated rights in the leaked document. Those of us that did dig in realize that effectively this says anything that's not enumerated effectively could be overturned. And that doesn't affect just the Roe v. Wade decision. That could also affect same-sex marriage. Hell, it could affect interracial marriage, could affect contraceptive use in the marriage. So when you started polling some of those broader questions that could theoretically or maybe realistically be affected by this ruling, let's start with same-sex marriage. Charles, how did the polled Americans feel about that? It's a very partisan issue still.
Yes, and still very strongly supported. 69% of respondents favor the 2015 Supreme Court ruling establishing a right to same-sex marriage. Notice that that's about the same percentage that oppose overturning Roe. So big majority here for both maintaining Roe and maintaining same-sex marriage. It's even bigger with anti-discrimination protections for LGBTQ people. 84% favor that ruling from 2020. On the partisan split on same-sex marriage, Republicans are evenly split. 49% in favor of the same-sex marriage ruling, 51 opposed. But independents, it's 3-1. And among Democrats, it's 85-15. So big partisan split, though not as big as some things we see, with fully half of Republicans or almost half of Republicans on board. But on the anti-discrimination against gay and trans people, there the support is even higher. And that includes 72% of Republicans in favor of this anti-discrimination ruling, 94% of Democrats. Now, that's something to watch, because we've certainly seen a lot of states and state legislators taking on, I think, what would fairly be called anti-trans bills in school sports participation, in teaching about sexuality in schools, especially elementary schools. Florida's recent law on this has been very much in the news in recent weeks. And yet Republicans seem very in favor of this in terms of anti-discrimination laws. That doesn't mean what their views are when it comes to these school issues and education issues. We'll have to ask about that another time. We didn't include that in this questionnaire, but I was frankly a little surprised that support for the anti-discrimination law ruling is as high with Republicans as it is in this data set.
Well, what isn't surprising is about Republican support for the Second Amendment as they perceive it. You polled a number of questions. Obviously, we had another mass shooting, Charles, but I think people are curious. What are the takeaways on the Second Amendment and things like having a gun in the household or outside the household, maybe a concealed carry?
Right. We asked 3 questions about this, and it's not just one shooting, it's 2 that have now happened, 2 mass shootings since this poll began. 66% favor a ruling that would say the Second Amendment protects the right to possess a gun outside the home. People may not realize that the Supreme Court has ruled the Second Amendment gives a right to possess a gun for self-protection inside the household, but actually hasn't ruled on concealed carry or carry outside the house. That's governed by state laws around the country, which are generally very permissive for concealed carry laws, but that hasn't been the court's ruling. In any case, 66% favor that. And we were in the field both before and after the mass killing of Black people in Buffalo. We saw no change in opinion on this issue that was statistically significant between the before and the after interviews. Big majority also favor a right to concealed carry outside, not a right, but I'm sorry, laws that allow licensed concealed carry. That's about 66% that favor that, but only 19% without a license.
Sorry to interrupt, Charles. Unregulated, unlicensed concealed carry, very unpopular even with Republicans.
That's right. Only 19% favor that unlicensed carry, sometimes called constitutional carry by its proponents. Much more, 62% in favor of licensed carry. So there's a huge gap in this, even as many states have instituted unlicensed carry.
Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire. Always appreciate when you come around and share the newest hot takes. Thank you, Charles, so very much.
Good to be with you. Thanks so much.
Come back, more Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Stories come to life at your local parks and forests. They're places of wonder, and they're closer than you think. Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Did you ever call that girl?
Catching up after work.
Guys, this round's on me. You said that? You really said that?
I mean, you should have just seen that. Like, you should have been.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
We've mentioned, inflation is going to be an issue. Let me ask you this. What would you like to see Donald Trump do if you were here? What did you suggest Biden do to address the inflationary pressures we're facing right now?
Well, I can't tell you that because that would be something you could counter and defeat Trump with, or the Republican Party. So tell you.
You think Trump's taking strategy from you on talk radio, Lou?
I mean, you're no Kid Rock, Lou.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm Kirk Bangstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in deep red northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab.
Being a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone.
The Devil's Advocates, never personal, only politics.
Streets are uneven when you're down.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Wednesday edition. Thank you to our most recent guest, Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire, Marquette University Law School polling. And Fancy Brian, I wanted to acknowledge, I asked an open-ended question on yesterday's big show. I didn't think you could hunt deer in Dane County with a rifle, but apparently the law changed. Jeff shared that with me yesterday. I should have updated the audience then. Now you're looking at me like, what's Crudy talking about? Well,
no, I know I remember the conversation.
You know, it happened. I just wanted to update. I wanted to close the loop, put a bow on it. So, get your AR-15s and go deer hunting, I guess.
Hooray.
Get a little backyard update for you, Fancy, and the fair audience. You can always be a part. 844-967-2789. In the wake of a shooting at a Texas elementary school that left 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers dead, Wisconsin Democrats are calling for stricter gun laws, and a Republican candidate for governor is proposing to give school officials new funding to hire security guards and police officers. The proposals underscore the deep divisions between Democrats and Republicans in Wisconsin on how to respond to the drumbeat of mass shootings that have scarred families nationwide, including here. Attorney General Josh Kaul on Wednesday called on Republicans who control the legislature to require background checks for all gun purchases and establish a red flag law that would allow judges to remove guns from those considered dangerous. Seems like a good idea, but you can't do that now because Second Amendment. Here is the statement from Josh Kaul. These are steps that have broad public support. What we lack is legislative will. Kaul, a Democrat, said at a news conference, we need to change the politicians. The Republican politicians in particular need to be more concerned about parents than they are about the NRA. They need to be more worried about keeping kids safe than they are about keeping their political future safe. Now, Republican candidate for governor Kevin Nicholson said Wednesday that schools in Wisconsin should add more security to protect children from shooters and promised to fund the plan if elected. Why are we quoting Kevin Nicholson? He's never going to be elected. I apologize to you, the fair audience, for wasting your time in such a fashion.
He does walk through crowds very quickly.
Well, here is what his spokeswoman, Courtney Mullen, said in a statement. Kevin believes the Second Amendment exists to allow citizens to safeguard their life and liberty. When and wherever possible, schools should be safeguarded by armed and professionally trained safety professional. This means hiring more police officers and security guards who can continually train to handle weapons in close quarters environment, with a focus on safeguarding the lives of children in the face of a suicidal enemy. Well, that's a suicide mission, right? I mean, I know Kevin's a Marine vet, and maybe he saw a few firefights, but I can tell you, you cannot train for a close quarters firefight short of getting shot at.
Speaking of which, wasn't there a security guard on campus at this latest shooting?
I'm not clear. I know there was a security guard in the store in Buffalo. Republicans who control the state legislature are unlikely to ever take up legislation to expand background checks or add red flag policies, and have rejected repeated calls for Democrats to do so. Meanwhile, 3 out of 4 major GOP candidates for governor also have proposed to lift more restrictions and no longer require Wisconsin residents to be trained on how to use guns before being allowed to carry them in a concealed manner. Did you hear that? 75% of Republicans want no permit, no competence, concealed carry, constitutional carry. I think Charles Franklin just called it, despite the fact that there is support from maybe 19% of Wisconsinites for this issue. So, you know, you look at the will of the voters, at least as they express it through their polling answers, and then you look at the agenda of the respective parties. 3/4 of Republicans want to make it easier for people to go out there and open carry on the streets. More guns, because we need more guns, because I hear a lot of people have guns. So I need a gun. It's sort of circular logic if you think about it. Meanwhile, 3 of 4, I think I mentioned that. That'd also be a circle back, if you will. Let's, save the circling back and circling whatever and move on in the article and perhaps the show as well. The proposals from Rebecca Clayfish, Nicholson, and Tim Ramjam to allow concealed carry of firearms without permits or training under fresh scrutiny following 2 mass shootings in 11 days. And a night of shootings in downtown Milwaukee earlier this month left 21 people injured. Well, that's because you didn't have enough good guys with the gun shooting back. Should have had
enough
more shooters.
They had enough to catch them all.
Jim Palmer, executive director of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, said the police union has long supported keeping training requirements for concealed carry of firearms. Yes, let's keep that requirement. I mean, are we going to throw out driver's ed behind the wheel next? You know, freedom.
I think they actually already did.
Well, proven competency through a driving thing, but you know, my kid's still taking behind the wheel. I guarantee you that. Let's throw that out as well. Yeah, I'm sure he'll do fine. Who needs to practice or to prove competency? Such a minimal requirement only serves to advance public safety, and we fail to see how eliminating any safety training altogether serves the public interest, Palmer asked. Andrew Wagner, president of the Milwaukee Police Association, said the organization does not have a position on the idea. You should, and expects his members to have mixed opinions on whether standards and training should be preserved for concealed carry of firearms. Why is 80% of the people living in the state, and I bet it's a higher number if you polled the people in Milwaukee, 80% statewide, Dems and Republicans think this is a bad idea. And that's why 3/4 of Republicans are all for it.
Okay, so you arm the teachers, you arm the people at the schools. Well, are you going to arm the people at the movie theaters and at the grocery stores and at the mall and at everywhere? Are we just going to have armed guards and stormtroopers everywhere?
New Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson asked some similar rhetorical questions. I would like to know why they think that would help in a situation like this. How does that help? I know that, you know, when you're speaking politically about statewide races, you got to make some appeals to the folks outside urban areas. But guess what? When those pieces of legislation go into effect, they have an outsized effect on places like this, on urban areas, on cities like Milwaukee. So how does that help? Good question. Chevy Johnson. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. The happy hour. My buddy Dom, and your calls could be next. 844-967-2789.
We need to let people know, you come into our schools, you're going to be dead.
You said it, man.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Listen to your favorite political talkers no matter where you are. 92.7 FM in Madison and Eastern Dane County, 1580 AM Columbus, north of Madison, and for daytime east-west commutes on I-94, 101 FM in the Shaw, and 540 AM covering eastern Wisconsin all day and covering the Milwaukee Metro, the Wild Counties, Racine, and Kenosha 24/7. Download the free Devil Radio app for your smartphone and take both stations with you everywhere. No excuses, just listen.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A day after a deadly school shooting in Texas.
I'm just sick and tired of what's going on. It continues to go on.
President Biden again asked where the backbone is to stand up to the gun lobby. The president says the need is there for stronger gun laws.
Well, they clearly will not prevent every tragedy. We know certain ones will have significant impact and have no negative impact on the Second Amendment. Second Amendment is not absolute.
The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, says the gunman who killed 19 children and 2 teachers had warned on Facebook minutes before the attack that he was going to shoot up a school. Facebook later said the messages were private. Abbott addressed the idea of tightening gun laws in the state.
We need to realize that people who think that, well, maybe if we could just implement tougher gun laws, it's going to solve it. Chicago and LA and New York
disprove that thesis.
Abbott says the gunman had no known criminal or mental health history. The governor had an unexpected meeting with Democratic gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke.
Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Please leave this auditorium.
O'Rourke approached the stage, pointed to the governor, and said, "This is on you." Police deployed in force, and 3 young people were detained after an employee at a school in Germany reported seeing a young person carrying a firearm in a basement room of a building. Police believe an overnight fire in Wyoming that damaged a building being renovated to house a new abortion clinic was deliberately set. Authorities are trying to determine the identity of a possible suspect seen running away from the building before dawn. The Congressional Budget Office says high inflation will persist into next year. Wall Street, the Dow finished up 191 points. This is AP News. With inflation
I'm Joel Clark, a SelectQuote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-597-2010. That's 1-800-597-2010. 1-800-597-2010. Or go to selectquote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Like, wow, Scoob, it's Devil Radio. Rebel Radio.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hi, I'm a pleasant voice reminding you to enable Devil Radio before playing Devil Radio. First, you have to enable Devil Radio, which should be natural to Wisconsinites. Just say, Alexa, enable Devil Radio. Then firmly and confidently say, Alexa, play Devil Radio. This should conjure the Devil Radio app, available at the App Store.
At Chad's Design Build, we care deeply about the quality of the services that we provide to our clients. An excellent remodeling experience requires communication, honesty, accuracy, and a detailed plan, all of which helps to create a satisfied client. And these commitments spell our name. To learn more about the Chad's remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com. Building a better world, one remodeled home at a time, and celebrating 30 years of excellence.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil Radio app.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The Wisconsin Supreme Court heard oral arguments yesterday in a case surrounding the Madison School District's gender inclusivity program and whether or not parents can sue the district without identifying themselves or proving they are residents of the district and have students in the school. The case has been working its way through lower courts since 2020, and conservative justices on the state Supreme Court say the plaintiffs' identities have been shared with the justices, but not with the lawyers representing the Madison School District. The plaintiffs are being represented by the conservative outlet Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the San Diego Padres last night 4-1 with a go-ahead 3-run homer by Tyrone Taylor in the 6th inning. Scattered showers expected this morning, turning into steady rainfall throughout the afternoon with a high of 65 degrees. Chance for thunderstorms early this evening, turning into cloudy skies around midnight with an overnight low of 60 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition. Dom joins. How you doing, big?
Hey, Crudy, I'm good. I'm good. Good as can be. Fancy Brian, Evan, our fair audience, thank you for joining us. We're one day safe from mass shootings. Got the new sign on the wall, right? One day without a mass shooting. So we'll probably have to take that down in a week or so. But, you know, while it lasts, we'll celebrate.
You think we'll make it a week?
Probably not. Maybe 10 days.
Dominic, you'll be happy to know now that it is the happy hour. I have, been discussing this ad nauseum and found it weird to drop the kids off at school today and pretend like it was just another pedestrian every other day. Be safe, kids.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Hope no one breaks into your school. Dominic, the thing I took note of today, Beto O'Rourke, he is a gubernatorial candidate in the state of Texas. O'Rourke, obviously, former congressman, ran for president. I mean, we saw him out on the stump. I think I bumped into Beto at least 3 or 4 times. Saw him first here at a coffee shop in Madison when he first announced his candidacy. And he's a compelling figure. Reminds me a little bit of a Kennedy from the Deep South. But anyways, today he went to a press conference. Greg Abbott, the governor, seated there with some local officials in the town, in the city where the shooting happened. And Beto O'Rourke confronted him and then went out and very passionately spoke to the press. And want to get your opinion, man. What do you think of the tactic? Is this?
Yes, good. Absolutely. I mean, there should be no safe places for politicians and elected officials who could, look at and understand and realize that 19 children and several teachers were gunned down, murdered at close range with a weapon of war to the degree that they had to do DNA swabs to identify the bodies. Mass carnage, piles of bags of bones and blood all over. I mean, I can imagine, and on that note, perhaps we need a reset in this country. Perhaps, as terrible as those images most certainly are, that those images should be on the screens tonight, so people realize what is going on. Not just, the outside shot of some school, but with the actual death and murder and mayhem that occurred inside that school. There should be no rest for them. So I'm fine with Beto O'Rourke addressing Abbott at a press conference. Go for it. And all of these politicians who continue to offer their pointless thoughts and prayers. I'm the atheist. A prayer is a thought. So you're offering a thought and a thought, and a thought without any action is literally nothing. You are doing nothing. And if you want to do nothing, okay, that's a position, but don't act like you're being any holier than thou. Don't act like God is going to come down and Jesus is going to stop the bullets. That's not how it works. When you're praying, you're talking to yourself. If you hear God responding, that's you talking to yourself. And all that stuff going on in your head without any sort of action is absolutely meaningless and worthless.
Well, Greg Abbott was not without action, Dominic. The governor of the state of Texas first made comment publicly at a press conference, and then he went to a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And then Friday night is going to speak, apparently one of the keynote speakers at the NRA being held deep in the heart of Texas.
The NRA. Now, isn't that ironic? I mean, what timing, number one? But my understanding, the reporting is that the NRA is banning guns from the NRA conference.
Well, Dom, how could that possibly be? You take the guns away from all the good people. What if a bad person crept in and killed all the NRA people?
Gee, what
how would they arm and defend themselves?
Well, I mean, at least they got well, of course, Trump is going to be there, so the Secret Service will take care of all that. I mean, so the NRA, at least in some regard, recognizes the dangers of an overly armed populace in close range at their convention. So they themselves are going to ban guns. I mean, really, people, really? And you NRA members, you're fine with that? You're good with that? I mean, so the hypocrisy with the NRA can't even go there. I mean, they're all about selling guns and putting money in their pocket. Ask Wayne LaPierre. So there's that. And then there's the thoughts and prayers and zero action. And so now you're saying, okay, it's 19 kids and maybe 20, 30. I'm just wondering, what is the number? What is the number? Is there a number of dead 9-year-olds that is too many dead 9-year-olds? If it's not 19, is it 190? Is it 1,900? Is it 19,000? Is it 190,000? At some point, Ted Cruz, Republicans, you gotta commit to a number. If there's no number, if that's
the number is one, Dom. The number's one when it happens to their
kid. Right.
To their kid. Because they don't care if your kid dies, as long as it's not their kid. In Texas, I think the Houston Chronicle got a little editorial out in response to Greg Abbott's statement yesterday. Abbott described the Uvalde gunman's action as horrifically incomprehensible, which resulted in a harsh editorial from the Houston Chronicle.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote from the Chronicle's statement. But the second word Abbott used, incomprehensibly, is just as much cowardice as it is a bald-faced lie. Of course, it's impossible to fathom why someone would shoot up an elementary school or any school, but it's hardly incomprehensible that it happened. It's been happening in Texas, across the nation. No one, especially not the governor of a state with some of the most inept, irresponsible, and dangerous gun laws in the nation, should be confused, somehow unable to comprehend the reason for this never-ending tragedy of mass shootings in our country. The newspaper said the state's permitless carry legislation is moving the state in the wrong direction. I just had Charles Franklin on, pollster extraordinaire, in the last hour, Dom. 19% of Wisconsinites want this to move forward. No concealed carry with no training, no permit, just constitutional carry, call it. 19% of people are in favor. That means like 81% are against it. But 3/4 of Republicans in this state want to move forward with that. You know, the legislative Republicans. So, a little bit more from the editorial, then we'll move on. Texas had 1 million registered weapons in 2021, more than the second place Florida and the third place Virginia combined. The United States leads all wealthy nation with its gun murder rate. In all nations, in the rate of suicide by gun. Since September of 2018, Texas has far more than its fair share of victims of mass shooting. Of the 2,000 deaths recorded, 195 happened in Texas, far more than any other state. And the newspaper noted Abbott's comments from the 2018 school shooting in Santa Fe and the 2019 mass shooting in El Paso and then Odessa and Midland. As we speak, the National Rifle Association is excitedly gearing up for its annual meeting in Houston this Friday, May 27th through 29th at the George R. Brown Convention Center. But also on hand this weekend, in a fierce, strong, protesting posture, should be every single Texan, including sensible gun owners who want to stop the madness, stop the killing, stop the NRA stranglehold over Texas elected leaders. And by the way, Dom, the newspaper suggested gun laws should be a major focus in the 2022 gubernatorial. Well, perhaps Beto O'Rourke read the op-ed because he went and confronted the governor to his face at a press conference. And I'm sure he'll make a little news, Dom. Made news right here.
Well, and my understanding, the mayor also at that press conference, the mayor of the town where the shooting occurred was
very offended.
Let's call it that. That's a way to put it, Crudy. And, claiming that this is time for politics. Listen, it is the legislature that has to change the law. It is the politicians who are elected to the various legislatures in Congress. It is always political. Always, always, always. It's never going to not be. If you want to change a law in this country, it is going to be political. And you don't get to choose necessarily when you are confronted with your ignorance and your asinine comments about mental health. And certainly there's maybe a conversation to be had about that. But if someone with having a mental breakdown and a pool noodle is not going to do the same damage as someone with a mental breakdown and an AR-15, it is absolutely the guns. If the guy had a pool noodle, everybody would still be alive. You see what I'm saying? It's the guns.
The Houston Chronicle ended as thus. We call on Abbott, whose campaign war chest is comfortably overflowing in his re-election bid against Democrat Beto O'Rourke, to replenish his bankrupt conscience and do something, anything to stop the blood of children and the tears of parents. We call on O'Rourke as well to demonstrate the kind of leadership, passion, and gun reform policy ideas that we've lost faith Abbott can provide. The newspaper noted, go vote, go fight. Well, Beto O'Rourke, he's been leading this charge in Texas. And we'll see probably new polling out in the next week or so out of Texas. But, the new confrontational Beto O'Rourke unleashed on Greg Abbott. And I think he was expressing what a lot of us are feeling.
We've got to protect our phony baloney job, gentlemen. We must do something about this immediately.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
Nobody cares.
What is dedication? The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
The plaintiff, Donald J. Trump, hereby serves his suit against the defendants, Hillary Clinton and her cohorts, orchestrated an unthinkable plot, one that shocks the conscience and is an affront to the nation's democracy.
This week on Fox.
You know what I mean? Like you're throwing a few too many adverbs and adjectives in this sentence.
One man, one mission. Donald Trump gets made fun of. This is Watergate 2.
Making radio great again.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
We're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We're taking your calls. As always, you're always welcome to join us on the phones, toll-free talk or text 844-967-2789. Let's get to them. Susan from the car, you are up. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Well, welcome. Well, it's another sad day in this nation's history. And unfortunately, all the platitudes that people are putting out there have nothing to do with the reality of the situation. Is there's just too many guns on the street. They're too easy to get. And we can go on and on about it. But I think it's time for us to take names and kick ass, as everybody says, and really get to these the politicians who are supposed to be doing the right thing by the American people.
Susan, here's my only concern. New polling out today. And when you look at the Second Amendment issue here in the state of Wisconsin and nationally, Charles Franklin did national polling. The independents are with the Republicans on this issue. They believe in things like concealed carry outside the home. Now, the vast majority of all polled believe that you should have, some sort of permitting, some sort of process. But that is a different question than, should we ban assault style weapons, high capacity magazines?
No, personally, I think people should have to have a license for each gun that they own. And I kind of go with Tom Hartman's idea. You need a license to drive a car. You need a license for a lot of things, to be a doctor, to be a nurse, for everything else. And if you have a license for that, then you can own it, but you have to prove that you can handle it. And, you don't need to take a high capacity rifle out to do your average shopping. If you're going shopping, you might carry a concealed, but you should have, I think if you have a gun, you should put it on your hip and just own it and not have it concealed. I don't think anybody should conceal anything, because that's very
Susan,
dangerous.
maybe it's just a false sense of security, but if you got a gun on your hip, I'm a little intimidated. You know what I mean? Maybe maybe I'm happier not knowing that you're carrying a gun under your armpit, waiting for the guy to make correct change at the Dairy Queen. And if he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's better I don't see him with the gun on his hip. Because there's too many little circumstances in life that get blown up into big circumstances.
Right, but we have to take these on individually. I mean, each one of these, I think, have different, they're different pieces of the same puzzle. But yes, if you want to have a firearm, I think you should be able to have one. I'm never saying that, but I would never own one. However, if you have it, you have to have a license for it, and you have to prove that you're able to use it correctly. Because the kid in Milwaukee that shot those 20 people or whatever was only shooting at one person. That person was after one person, but he ended up shooting everybody because the person he was after ran.
And imagine how that would look, Susan, if everybody was armed with the same kind of weapon. Everybody's shooting everybody, because how do you determine the good guy versus the bad guy? Right. Everybody gets shot.
Right. I'm always the good guy in every equation. In my mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm always justified in my mind.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's all politics, as Don says. This is all politics, right?
Susan, I got one more quick question for you. I read a column from Paul Waldman at the Washington Post. Maybe you heard it, but his conclusion: if you want meaningful gun reform, hey, Democrats, go win, go take power, go seize power, and go use power. Susan, do you believe the Democrats have it within their will? Because they're going to have to express, if we win, we're coming for a certain portion of the guns. And that doesn't always feel like a winning formula electorally to me.
No, it probably isn't. And it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's like anything, even as a parent, you make decisions that sometimes cut both ways. But I think you have to make a decision based on what you think is the best for the entire population, and then figure out what you're going to do with all these other categories. I mean, some people are gun collectors. There are some people that buy these guns just because they like to look at them. But there are people who use them and then.
But the vast majority of the crimes are being committed by people that use that loophole in the law to make a straw purchase or to, make a legal purchase in one state and sell them in the next state. And eventually they all end up on the streets.
Correct. So it has to be universal. Whatever we do, it has to be cross state lines. I mean, it just has to be.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Thank you for the call, Susan. Appreciate it. I know we're getting a little short on time here, and perhaps our callers can wait. I think if we go back and we conflate lots of issues, concealed carry, constitutional carry,
stand your ground. Castle doctrine.
It can be overwhelming. And if we go back to the assault weapons ban from back years ago, right?
The Brady bill.
We had a time when those weapons were not allowed to be sold and the mass shootings that we experienced were decreased. I think it's easy to address some of those very specific issues in history. Now, we don't have to go back. I mean, the AR-15 was unavailable 100 years ago, right? So we look at the modernization and the technological advances of the weapon. And then you're going to have the people say, well, this is not supposed to be for hunting. This is supposed to be for fighting back against a tyrannical government. Well, taking aside the well-regulated militia argument and say, okay, let's just say you're assuming that you have the right to own any weapon. Well, you don't get to own a Tommy gun. You don't get to own automatic weapons. You don't get to own a howitzer artillery unit. You don't get to own a Apache helicopter. You don't get bazookas. I mean, so what we're talking about are matters of degree. And I think we need to stay on the matters of degree. We are already, as a society, accepted the fact that we don't want people having howitzer artillery systems. So let's continue down that path. And it's got to be specifically on the specs of the weapons, not what it looks like, not because this blacker looks cool, based on velocity and ammunition and so on. I think we can address this scientifically and historically.
Buddy, sure, for the reasonable. But how do you reason with someone that's just fine with 19 dead kids and thoughts and prayers? Come back, more devils.
Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the mall.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, McFarland's choice for essential radio.
When we built the Devil Radio World Headquarters in Madison, it was filthy with construction dust, a real mess. I called Magnific Cleaning Services and they made it shine. A few days later, we moved in and created a whole new mess. Magnific Cleaning Services made it shine again. Now Magnific Cleaning Services is the only cleaners I trust with the keys to my company. They clean Devil Radio affordably and with great attention to detail. Find them online at magnificservice.com for a free estimate. Tell them Devil Radio sent you.
Listen to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for progressive news talk radio, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Tune in for Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian every afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. for Wisconsin news and a tangent or two. The Devil's Advocates radio show is live every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. Still, the greatest radio show ever. Always streaming at Devil Radio 92.7.
School shooting. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. 19 fourth graders are dead, along with 2 teachers and the 18-year-old who used a semi-automatic weapon to kill them in Uvalde, Texas yesterday. Governor Greg Abbott.
We need to realize that people who think that, well, maybe if we just implement tougher gun laws, it's going to solve it. Chicago and LA and New York disprove that thesis.
Despite mounting mass shootings in communities around the country, 2 in the past 2 weeks, Uvalde, and another 18-year-old killing black shoppers in Buffalo, GOP lawmakers have been unwilling to buck the gun lobby to work out any compromise. Josh Duggar, one of the kids in TLC's 19 Kids and Counting reality TV show, is sentenced to 12 and a half years in federal prison for receiving and possessing child pornography. The show was canceled in 2015 amid allegations that he had molested 4 of his sisters and a babysitter years earlier. I'm Tim McGuire.
I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-597-2010. That's 1-800-597-2010. 1-800-597-2010. Or go to selectquote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The Madison City Council voted on Tuesday evening to streamline the rules that govern how the 5 historic districts throughout the city can be changed by property owners or redeveloped through new projects. Representatives with Madison Teachers Incorporated are warning of more teachers and staff leaving the Madison Metropolitan School District if the administration cannot meet the teachers union at the 4.7% raise increase being requested by salaried staff. The district claims it cannot meet the raise request due to lack of funds from the state government, but a number of districts in Dane County and throughout Wisconsin have increased wages by 4.7% to keep up with the rising cost of living. A new exclusive poll by Courier Newsroom and Data for Progress shows 68% of likely voters oppose a national ban on abortion since the leaked draft opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court earlier this month. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Couldn't decide if it was my turn or your turn.
What time is it? Where are we at? What are we doing?
It's my turn.
Your turn, baby.
You know what we haven't even talked about? What? Hang Mike Pence.
Hang Mike Pence.
Apparently that's a sentiment that Trump shared with the crowd. We'll get there in a bit. But the newest on the former President Donald Trump, according to the Daily News, Trump vowed to speak at this weekend's National Rifle Association convention, even after the 18-year-old gunman killed 21 people. I think we've talked about this a bit. Denouncing politicians and partisanship, Trump said he would appear as scheduled Friday at the pro-gun group's annual confab in Houston, about 4 hours east of where the slaughter unfolded. Americans need real leadership and real solutions at this moment.
Yeah.
He wrote on the...
Is he offering either of those things?
Well, of course he is, Tom. Just give him one more chance. Baby, one more chance.
I promise in 2 weeks I'll have gun safety legislation that everyone's going to love. You're going to love it.
Now, Trump echoed complaints by Republican leaders that Democrats are seeking to make political hay out of the latest horrifying attack. We all continue to pray for the victims, their families, and our entire nation. We're all in this together. It's the Dems always trying to, pit people against each other.
Even prayer, again, doesn't pass legislation. Trump, Republicans,
they don't think that legislation is necessary, Dom. You understand this, right? So very obvious. I mean, they've sold their souls.
They have not articulated how many dead children are acceptable to them.
Dude, I don't care how much empirical evidence you have, how many reasonable thoughts you have. They have sold their soul for the NRA gold. You know what I mean? They all did, from Scott Walker to Ron Johnson, who was running down the hallways, from a reporter today that had the temerity to ask him, hey, Ron, would you ever get to a yes on any sort of sensible anything. Universal background checks. How about that? I gotta go. Let me in. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no. Ron sold his soul. Scott Walker sold his soul. Donald Trump sold his soul.
So the disingenuous argument of the Republicans for anybody who would challenge them wanting some sort of legislative remedy. I mean, that's the whole point of a representative government. That is why we are self-governed, to impact these kinds of things. And if you're going to do nothing, then perhaps you should not be in that position. And because you decide to do nothing, because you decide that there is no amount of carnage of 9-year-old bloody bodies that is unacceptable to you, doesn't mean that we don't get to call you out on it every single damn time we please to do so.
You know, you're just driving a wedge in our culture, Dom. 844-967-2789. I think you mentioned firearms will be banned at the NRA event because the Secret Service is handling security for Trump.
I mean, you go to a rock concert. You go to a rock concert, you hear rock and roll, right? You go to a weed festival, everyone's smoking weed. You go to any of these things that are of a thing, and those things are all over the place, except guns at the NRA show.
Buddy, just look in the parking lot. Kind of like, Dave Matthews Band, all the real action's going on in the parking lot. That's where all the action goes on in the gun shows.
All the private sales, baby.
844-967-2789. Jeannie, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, guys.
Hey, Jeannie.
Hey, Jeannie.
I wonder and really question the fact if they really ever did have a soul. Because you would kind of be going back and forth on this, but they absolutely show no sign of empathy whatsoever or concern for those parents. Yeah, they put on a big show. They really had concern. They'd be doing something.
Jeannie, you didn't watch the Fox News morning lineup. Ainsley Earhart was crying on air this morning as a mother and telling them, get the kids to church. Something wrong with the soul of America.
Oh, what good actors they are. It's so sad. It really is. But these people are really messed up. And the only way we're going to save our country is to get them out of office and vote for, get good Democrats in there. And
so you agree with Waldman, Jeannie, that it's really about, winning elections, seizing power, and then doing something.
Yeah, you got to bulldoze them over, man. They're never gonna man up, woman up.
And I thought Beto did an outstanding job. I thought, and I loved it because I was looking at all the stations, major stations that was covering this, and ABC followed Beto right off the door and listen, we could hear exactly what he had to say when he was kicked out. It was just amazing. I thought, good for you guys. And I thought usually sometimes the major stations will cut in just a little bit and give you their take at night on the nightly news. They were covering this thing. And I thought, good for you. Yesterday, they were all the stations were covering it. If you don't have cable, it was like, finally, these guys need to cover this stuff so that people get educated in what the heck's going on, besides you guys. But I'm hoping more and more people are able to tune in from my area because you guys are doing a great job. And thank you so much for what you do.
Well, from
Bye,
your
guys.
lips to God's ears, Jeannie, we'll
Thanks,
get there.
Jeannie.
We'll get there, sister. Appreciate you listening on the Devil Radio app. You could listen anywhere in the world. Take us with on your smartphone. Just saying. You can. Dick from Madison, you're next. Welcome to the political party at 844-967-2789. Dick, how you doing, fella?
Hey, Dick.
All right, guys. I spoke to this with the guys earlier. I love Jeannie. She is unbelievable. She stole my thunder with one thing right off the bat. They have no souls, and they absolutely don't. So that's just crazy to talk about. But I mentioned to the guys earlier that somebody got in my grill a little bit already about O'Rourke, about early afternoon when it happened. What do you think of that? And I said, I think it's fine. I think it's just fine. Oh, really? Interrupting this? And I said, look, here's a governor that's
interrupting. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Dick, here's your response the next time you get that earful. just tell them, Beto technically waited until they were
Right.
like shifting the microphone between speakers. No one got interrupted.
And he didn't swear at anybody and have to be bleeped. But my other thing with him and the whole thing, it's just, come on. He went there peacefully, had his say. And you know what I told this guy? I said, I know exactly where you fell on Kaepernick years back, just from hearing that from you. The same type of thing. And you know what? This whole thing, it's going to be, unless there's something done, there's going to be a lot more shots and tears instead of, their stupid prayers or whatever it is. I mean,
Appreciate the thought, Dick. Here's my thought. I don't like to accuse anyone of being soulless except for you, the atheist on the panel.
Thank you.
You.
Well, everyone's soulless. You just don't believe you are. But please go ahead.
Soulless implies to me without human empathy. And what I would say about Ron Johnson, if that was Ron Johnson's grandkid, he'd care a lot. Or Ted Cruz's daughter, of course they'd care. And you cannot tell me that Republicans don't have empathy for their own. Now, whether or not they have empathy for their constituents or your kids, that's a whole different concern.
Listen, I don't want to interrupt here, Crudy, but I'm not saying they don't have empathy. I truly believe
but
that
some are saying they don't have souls. And I
have empathy and I don't have a soul. So, you're talking to the wrong guy here, man. So I believe some of them have empathy. I mean, how could you not? How could you not? The question is, what do you do with that? If your decision is to do absolutely nothing, then the empathy is worthless. So what? You feel bad about it. You actually have an opportunity to impact this going forward. What are you going to do? I got empathy. I got thoughts and prayers. That's not action. That doesn't translate to anything. Legislation is what you're there for. You're a politician. You're an elected official. It is legislation that you must enact, whether you got empathy or not. And I'm not clear with that empathy if it was any of their own kids, based on our conversations here. If they're bought and sold by the NRA, would that even change their mind?
Well, Scalise got shot, but
did it change his mind?
You're a hard guy to have this conversation with because you keep interrupting, and you take this whole issue about religion, and I want you to hold on for just a minute. Let me try to pass through a point for just a second.
All right, go ahead.
My whole thought on this whole Christianity thing, I think that Republicans have empathy for their own. And I think to accuse them of being soulless, right? They're soulless. Well, I think that's a harsh criticism. I don't think it's earned. And quite frankly, if we ever want to win any hearts and minds, and yeah, I certainly think hearts and minds can be won, I would encourage Republicans to turn towards their Christianity, turn towards the example of Jesus Christ. I mean, Jesus wasn't packing an AR-15, if you know what I'm saying. It was something about turning the other cheek. And if you are a true Christian, your higher calling, if you believe, and I do, your higher calling should be to your God, to your Christ, not to your freaking political party. You know what I mean? Even if you believe the Republicans were always right, and therefore might makes right, and we're going to keep doing it our way because we're the Republicans and we know what's best for America. Even if that's what you believe, if you are any kind of a true Christian, what would Jesus do? And it's not go buy another gun. That's my opinion. 844-967.
Allow me to retort.
Sure.
Jesus wasn't armed, but they crucified his ass, right? Isn't that the story? So maybe if he had a weapon, that wouldn't have happened.
Come on, man. He had the power of God Almighty behind him. He chose that.
I mean, if that's the case, then where is the power of God Almighty in any of these situations ever? Jesus doesn't stop the bullets, man. And you want to lean people to rely on their Christianity. Have you seen some of the Christian leaders and the things they say?
I didn't say
Pastor
be like
Locke?
the Christian leader. I didn't encourage you to go be Pat Robertson. I encouraged you, if you are a true Christian and you do believe the word and that is the word, then go read your freaking Bible and get behind some common sense gun reform efforts. And let's stop allowing children to die for your Second Amendment theoretical rights. 844-967-2789. John from Brookfield. Welcome, John.
Hey, John.
Yeah, the guy who's soulless. Does he understand that thoughts and prayers are for the families of the victims as well? And that if it was his family members who got shot, would he not be relieved of some of the discomfort because he knew that the entire United States cared for his well-being?
No, John, and let me tell you why. If you're thinking about me because something terrible happened to me and you have the opportunity legislatively to impact it, I don't want your thoughts. I want your action, John.
Okay, what's your action then? Because you haven't said anything. All you did was put down Christians. You haven't said anything.
I have said. I said let's look back at the Brady bill. Look back at the last time we banned assault weapons, John. I have very specifically talked about those things.
And empirically, John,
assault weapons don't work.
It does work, John. It does work. It does have impact at lowering the number of mass shootings.
All right, John, let me ask you, how many dead kids or too many dead kids for you to change your mind on gun control?
None.
How many?
I mean, come on, don't ask. You're asking an absolute.
Okay, then what's your solution, John? What's your solution? Prayer? Is Jesus going to stop the bullets, John?
It's not about stopping the bullets. It's about prayer has worked many times in prisons where a criminal has been reformed because they found crime.
John, you better say a little prayer for my buddy Dominic. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
The House of Representatives has passed on to the Senate, and the Senate's getting ready to do something. Hopefully it'll get done, where we will come up with a solution, and a really good one.
We got to do something. Absolutely. You know what we got to do? Toga party.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
There seemingly is a willingness amongst Republicans to subvert future elections. How troubling is that to you, man?
Yeah, I think it's more than troubling. It's the core issue in the upcoming elections in 22 and 24, and it's going to be seen that way by historians. These people are out to destroy the democracy. To me, that is the linchpin issue in the upcoming election.
To what end, Matt?
Do we destroy our democracy or not?
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice hard seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice hard seltzer.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
And we're back. Thank Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Your calls always welcome. All takes, all sizes, all thoughts. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I thought I'd let you go first. Sinful before the saved.
Well, let me just.
I always worry about your Christianity getting in the way, or your lack thereof, getting in the way of the. We're talking about gun control and dudes off tangenting you on your lack of,
because all these Christians offer thoughts and prayers. That doesn't mean anything to me. You got to understand, from my perspective, as a non-believer, a thought without any action is absolutely pointless. And it's actually a little insulting. You can cut your finger off, cut your pinky off. You're going to pray for it to grow back. It won't. And to our last caller's thought of the guy or the person in prison and turn their life around. Okay, great. But that is an action that they took upon themselves. Their action, not because they were influenced by, to my opinion, the Holy Spirit or whatever. And if it took the Holy Spirit, if Jesus came down now and told Republicans to do something about this, we have the ability. Jesus gave us, if you believe, the wisdom and the foresight to collect together as a government to impact and make sure that terrible things cannot happen for the general welfare of the people. If that's what you believe in, and God gave you that mind and the ability, and here we are in this greatest country in the world, and God bless America and all that, and you do nothing, you say thoughts and prayers, and you actually do nothing as a legislator and a politician, I find that supremely insulting.
Well, I just like to remind those of us that do have, some chance of salvation.
Don't kid yourself.
If you follow your Christian teachings, Jesus would probably be down for an assault weapons ban. That's my thought.
I mean, maybe. He seemed kind of like a hippie from the stories.
844-967-2789. Chris from West Dallas. Welcome, Chris. What do you got?
Hi, Chris.
Hey, let me see if I can give the speaker up here. Okay, the first thing I have to say is all the thoughts and prayers in the world are not going to bring those babies back. So while they may be appreciated, they're not going to give those people grandchildren. But okay, let me tell you my gun control thing, because I'm really, really tired of everybody else's. So here's mine. Plan A, get rid of every gun. Start at the corner of Key West and move up door by door. Ignore all the other crime. I don't care if you've got a prostitute or whatever your other story is. We're just getting rid of the guns. And if we find a bullet after we've gotten rid of them, you got a bullet, it's life. And you got a gun, it's death. And Plan B, allow all the guns that were around in 1776. They have to be handmade. And okay, we'll have guns made in 1776 because that's what this Constitution said. And Plan C, treat guns like cigarettes. Remember when everybody had an ashtray in their house, even people who didn't smoke, and you could never sit in a bar and suggest to the guy next to you not to have a cigarette or an ashtray by you because you couldn't take the smoke. And now you're a pariah if you have a cigarette and nobody wants you in their house and you can't do it in a building. And so start treating guns like cigarettes, but that's Plan C. I'd like to know what you all think.
Well, I think you've brought a whole, like an outline with some points.
That's a lot.
That's great. A lot to unpack there, Chris. I watched the Prime Minister of New Zealand last night on Stephen Colbert of all places, and they had the Christchurch mass shooting, and they as a society said, we're done. And then they did a buyback. New Zealand did. Now, that is a population of 5 million. We've got a population north of 300 million, 60 times the population. But if you start, you do nothing except thoughts and prayers. And I find prayers comforting. Please pray for me and pray for Dom's salvation. He needs it worse than I. But what I would say, of course, I don't discount the prayers of friends and strangers. But what I would say is, sure, action spends. You know what I mean? Action is action. Let's do something. Let's stop spinning our wheels and hearing from Republicans that, oh, it's not the right time. Well, why is it not the right time? because the lobbyists at the NRA give me a lot of money, and they like the laws the way they are because it really favors the manufacturers. And we shield them from liability when these sort of things happen. You know, unless you're a total cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Alex Jones, you know, red flag denier. Well, hell, man, it keeps on going forever. And all we do is offer thoughts and prayers and, you know, sell a lot of guns, make a lot of money, and get lots of campaign contributions. We got this sweet staff. So I'm doing it for my kids, is how Ted Cruz would rationalize his support of the NRA for his political career, for his incumbency, you know, because that's in the best interest of his kids. Now, if one of his kids got shot at a mass shooting, that might change his opinion, Dom. But otherwise, he's doing it for the children, you know, the ones that vacation in Cancun, sometimes with and sometimes without Ted.
844-967-2789. Let's get some more callers in while we have a few minutes. Rick from Madison, you are next. Welcome, Rick. What do you got for us?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I agree the whole thoughts and prayers thing. Yeah, it sounds nice, and it is nice. I'm sure the families appreciate the prayers and stuff. But you know, I'm a gun owner, and I'm former military, and I am former NRA member. I gave that up years ago. We have to do something. An assault weapons ban, yeah, we tried that. It kind of worked, but it's just a rallying cry for the NRA and the Gun Owners of America and all of the conservative right-wing gun groups out there to rally their base and get more people out. We do need to do something. We need to enact nationwide background checks. We do need to enact a nationwide holding period, waiting period, cool down period, whatever you want to call it. But you need to wait until that background check comes back and clears for all weapons, whether it's a handgun, whether it's an assault weapon, whether it's a shotgun, you know, all of them.
Rick, I would suspect that you would support something like a red flag law that's been proposed federally. Effectively, if you are guilty of domestic violence or whatever the case may be, you get red flag, they take your guns. You would agree with that as well, Rick?
Absolutely. Because there are people out there that should not have guns.
Dom's one of them.
Not true.
Come
thanks
back.
for the call, Rick. Good points.
The happier happy hour and more of your phone calls. And a happier topic, hang Mike Pence.
I want to thank God for his abundant grace.
Oh my God, we're burning alive!
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
He loves you and he needs money.
The NRA does care.
Devil Radio has been kicking ass, earning every listener, and providing our sponsors return on investment 3 years now on the Madison airwaves. And there has never been a better time than right now to advertise with us and join the Devil Radio community. Our audience is loyal and growing every day. Active listeners that don't flip. Wonder if your ad dollars are working? Devil Radio listeners will tell you it works. Ad production is included. Devil Radio will make it easy for you to start seeing return on your investment. Call today.
Oh, that really hits the spot.
So we get to put away the Senator Sanders impersonation for a little while.
I'm not saying that he's gone for good, but stopping out here at the Atomic Koi in Fitchburg is really helping the Plastered for Progress agenda.
Yeah, the Koi is a great spot. It's got great vibes, and the patio is perfect for spring.
I'm staying here.
They do have operating hours, Brian.
Time has no meaning here. That's what makes the Koi atomic.
Does that mean that it's always patio season at the Atomic Koi?
Even if the patio's closed.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the 18-year-old gunman who killed 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, had no known mental health issues, but he did post on Facebook before his rampage.
He said, I'm going to shoot my grandmother.
The second post was, I shot my grandmother. The third post, maybe less than 15 minutes before arriving at the school, was, I'm going to shoot an elementary school.
Police say the gunman legally bought 2 semi-automatic rifles just days before the attack and right after his 18th birthday. During Abbott's news conference, Beto O'Rourke, the Democratic candidate for governor, confronted Abbott, calling the shooting totally predictable when you choose not to do anything.
Sit down. You're out of line and an embarrassment. Sit down and don't play this.
Shooting is right now, and you're doing nothing.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer took to the floor in a plea to GOP members.
Please, 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 damn it. Put yourself in the shoes of these parents for once. Maybe that thought, putting yourself in the shoes of these parents instead of in the arms of the NRA, might let you wriggle free from the vice-like grip of the NRA, might free you to act on even a simple measure.
But South Dakota Republican Mike Round says the 18-year-old did everything legally until he began to shoot.
We already make it illegal to have guns in schools. We already make, the atrocity itself, murder, is illegal. And then you talk about this individual. Did he go through a legal background check? It appears, facts aren't in, but it appears he did. So then the next step is what do you do next that would have stopped this?
This is AP News.
I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-597-2010. That's 1-800-597-2010. 1-800-597-2010. Or go to selectquote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
I am once again asking you to listen to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM. I believe they have the moral fiber to create a progressive movement in Wisconsin and indeed in America.
I'm Peter Pekarsky, a U.S. Senate candidate approving this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin, asking what kind of world do you want to leave to your children and grandchildren? A world where Ron Johnson uses his Senate vote to change the tax code so another $79 million stays with 3 of his rich campaign contributors instead of paying for Wisconsin schools and roads, or a world where Peter Pekarsky is a U.S. Senator working for all the people of Wisconsin. Tell us what you want at pekarskyforwisconsin.com.
The real estate market in Dane County and surrounding areas has been a bit of a hot mess this year. Listings are being picked off above asking prices and without the home inspection contingencies. I'm Todd Osborne, owner of Orion Inspections, and even if I weren't a home inspector, I'd still cringe a little if any of my friends or family tried to buy a home without an inspection. Let's take a good hard look at that house before you sign. Want to know more? I'm here to help. OrionInspections.com. That's Orion, like the constellation, inspections.com.
Summer is now, and it's not too late to make your backyard an oasis. Go Landscaping can create a sanctuary from the world right in your backyard. Stone fireplaces, stone patio, outdoor kitchens, stone is their passion. Hardworking and professional, call Cody. Their dry stone certified mason will help you design and realize your dream this summer. Call Gold Landscaping today at 608-807-9245. Stop dreaming and go love your yard.
Friends don't let friends spread fake news. Make sure to follow Devil Radio on Facebook and Twitter and stay up to date with the most important stories of the day.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Tuesday, 5 community organizations and labor groups called on local officials in Milwaukee to reject a proposal to bring the Republican National Convention to the city in 2024. The organizations Voces de la Frontera, Power to the Polls, Milwaukee Area Labor Council, Never Again Is Now, and the Service Employees International Union called on the Milwaukee Common Council to reject the proposal being advanced by Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson. Sources close to the decision say Milwaukee and Nashville are the remaining contenders to host the GOP's 2024 convention. A vote to advance the proposal will be before the Steering and Rules Committee of the Common Council later today. Scattered showers expected this morning, turning to steady rainfall throughout the afternoon with a high of 65 degrees. Chance for thunderstorms early this evening, turning to cloudy skies around midnight with an overnight low of 60 degrees. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Double Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition, the happy hour. You ready for it, Dominic?
Let's do it.
Dan will take more of your phone calls. We got Fancy Brian as well, and Evan screening the calls lightly in the world headquarters, 844-967-2789. But before we get back to the phones, I want to reset with, perhaps a compelling headline, as I would tell it. Hey, Mike Pence, says Donald Trump.
What?
Or something very, very close to that. That's Crudy's paraphrasing. Trump expressed support for hanging Pence during Capitol riot. January 6th panel is told. That is the headline. Trump expressed support for hanging Pence during Capitol riot.
So Trump
sounds interesting to me.
He's like, Trump is part of the pro hang Mike Pence party.
He's the leader of the pro hang Mike Pence party. Now, do you think he'll ask Pence to, run a second campaign with him?
No.
Do you think Pence would take him up on it if he did?
Actually, given who Pence is and how he is, maybe. Just
Our
maybe.
vice president. Where's our vice president?
Good
Kyle
question.
Cheney and Betsy Woodruff Swan reporting at Politico. I'm not going to read it all down, but a little bit for the record. The J6 Select Committee has heard testimony indicating that then President Donald Trump, after writers who swarmed the Capitol began chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," expressed support for hanging his vice president, according to 3 people familiar with the matter.
Wait, hang Mike Pence? That sounds like a great idea.
Let's hang that guy. I never liked that
I think
guy.
the White House could have handled this better.
The White House chief of staff at the time, Mark Meadows, was in the dining room off the Oval Office with Trump at one point during last year's Capitol attack, the committee has been told. Meadows then left the dining room and informed other people nearby that Trump had signaled a positive view of the prospect of hanging the vice president. Thumbs up.
This
Two
president
thumbs
is
up.
fighting every single day.
Yeah.
Meadows' account, as it is described to the committee, came after some members of the mob, converging on the Capitol, had broken into chants of hang Mike Pence. Those chants were a reaction to Pence's decision to accept electoral votes. How dare he? That indicated Joe Biden won the presidency. Now, Politico does have a disclaimer. They could not independently verify the veracity of the claim regarding Meadows' comments, and 2 of the people who spoke for this story said the committee has heard testimony on this topic from more than one person. All three people spoke on the condition of anonymity. Reach for comment. Trump spokesperson Taylor Budowich blasted the committee. Well, how do you think they were going to react? Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Hang Mike Pence. Trump owns
It is what it is.
Trump's merged now at the. You go to a Trump rally now, they're selling Hang Mike Pence t-shirts. Here is what the Trump team said, and then we'll get to the phones at 844-967-2789. This partisan committee's vague leaks, anonymous testimony, and willingness to alter evidence proves it is just an extension of the Democrat smear campaign that has been exposed time and time again for being fabricated and dishonest. Americans are tired of Democrat lies and the charade, but sadly, that's the only thing they have to offer. That, according to what, that's the Trump team's take on it.
Yeah, a little bit more from the political article.
You choking on a bone?
Pardon. Trump did not speak to Pence during the riot, even after learning that the Secret Service had ushered him to a secure location under the Capitol Plaza. Their last call came at 11:20 in the morning when Trump urged Pence to refuse to count Biden's electors, and Pence subsequently declined. All right, so they spoke earlier in the day. Last comments they had before the Hang Mike Pence rally chant were, "Hey, dude, how about you refuse to count the electors?" No. Yeah, Hang Mike Pence.
Well,
Political
not only that,
on.
Tom. What did he do next?
Right. Not only. Trump publicly expressed outrage at Pence during the riot via a 2:24 p.m. tweet. So Trump tweeted out at 2:24. Didn't talk to Pence after Secret Service ushered him away after the morning conversation, asking him to refuse to count the electors.
What do you want? I sent a car for him.
Yeah, right.
Remember last heard from Mike Pence? I'm not getting in that car.
Leave the gun, take the cannolis. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, he said, igniting a fresh wave of anger among the crowd that had breached the Capitol. Trump's tweet arrived 10 minutes after rioters had first broken into the Capitol through a Senate wing window, and it was posted 4 minutes before Pence arrived at the secure Capitol location, where he holed up with his security team for hours.
Well, Dominic,
Supposing we hit the body.
his first considered tweet was Hang Mike Pence. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Robert, West Allis, listing on the Shaw, perhaps. Welcome, Robert. What do you got for us?
Hey, Robert.
Aren't you guys just tired of the fake outrage and these guys saying there's nothing there? After a year, right? Mikey Sherrill had reported on January 5th.
Yeah,
they were giving tours in the Capitol. No one was supposed to be there. They denied it. They said we need to go after the person making these accusations. And what do we find out? Representative Barry Loudermilk was giving tours to people.
No, there were the good people, though.
And
January 6th insurrectionists.
And they had red hats. Yeah, my bad.
Right. Yeah.
Forget everything else I said. I totally lied.
Yeah, exactly. So if it seemed like they knew where they were going the day of the attack, they certainly did. He gave them the grand tour. That in between Texas, with the school shooting there, you see these ridiculous tweets by like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, "Oh, it's mental health." Well, that's great, guys, but then why do you vote it down when it comes to the floor for a vote?
Well, Robert, I have no doubt that Marjorie Taylor Greene does have issues with mental health.
But this is the pro-life party, right? And unless you're a school-age child, then it's like, hey, my freedom and my gun is more important. Let's not put any common sense reforms on
doubt.
When they gonna start arming the school-age children? Because a good kid with the
Arm
gun
the kids. Yes.
can kill the bad kid with the gun.
That's a great, Robert. Thanks for the call, man. Crudy, that's the first time I've actually heard someone articulate such a wonderful idea. Arm the children. Let's get to it. Like little bitty guns.
They
like
are our future.
Smaller guns. They are the future.
It won't be a long future if we arm all the children, but
I literally, Robert, and great point. They are the pro-life party. I had a guy at the gym this morning come up to me and say, hey, just so you know, remember, they're the pro-life party. Right, the pro-life party. Is that what they are? I mean, they're down with the fetuses, but as soon as something happens to an actual human being, a living, breathing, outside of the womb, something that you cannot no longer control, well, you know, it's in God's hands.
Dominic, Republicans are down for like 3 of the commandments. 844.
I want to know which one. What were the other 5 that broke?
844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Falcon in Madison. Welcome, Blue Falcon.
Hey, Falcon.
Not Blue Falcon, just the Falcon, but thank you. So, all right. So Greg Abbott basically just shot down the crazy person excuse that the Republicans always use, because he said that the kid in Texas didn't have any mental health problems. What did they call the kid in Buffalo? They said he was a crazy person. Well, I don't think he's taking an insanity plea. And if he's crazy, are they meaning to say he's crazy because he's racist? Well, in that case, the entire Republican Party is crazy then, because they're all racist. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there you go, trying to use logic again, Falcon.
I know they're fact. I know they're fact. You know, they're allergic to facts and logic. But hey, I mean, they're pretty much just saying that they're the party of crazy.
If A is true and B is true, C must also be true. I think Dr. Sherwitz would be proud of me just for a moment.
I doubt it. Hey, Falcon, thanks for the call. Great point. And I would just, again, point out that regardless of the motivation, crazy ass racist in Buffalo, or the motivation of this murderer murdering these 19 kids, if they had a pool noodle instead of an AR-15, those people, all of them, would be alive. So if you take away one variable and leave the alleged, mental health problem, but put a pool noodle in their hands instead of an AR-15, I think logic would dictate that the outcome would not be the same. So therefore, it is not the mental illness.
I bet you could have
the weapon.
I bet you could have hugged Mike Pence's ass with the pool noodle if you tried hard enough. You know what I'm saying? Just that, get the gallows and the pool noodle, and you're gonna have to, Mike. You're gonna have to stand on your tiptoes while we tighten her up a bit.
Hang on.
How much time we got, man?
Not enough. Never enough time. Just one other issue. Of course, we'll take more
raise
callers.
Another issue if we're out of time.
From CNN, an officer apparently engaged the gunman before he got inside the school. So if we throw away the mental illness thing, because of course we point out the pool noodle, and we throw away the good guy with the gun variable, really, what are you left with, Republicans? Just asking.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and thoughts.
Come back, more devil's advocates. Deep thoughts with Doc.
They like to knife them and cut them and let them die slowly, because that way it's more painful and they enjoy watching that much more. These are animals.
I think the White House could have handled this better.
I'm proud to tell you that was actually my sick idea.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
You might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
I've been invited on Fox News. I accepted. We're going to take your favorite ideas for burning it down. Alan from Madison, what do you got for us?
At the end of the show, you should tell them you've got a new logo for Fox News. What you do is stand up, drop your drawers, turn around, and Fox is on one cheek, news is on the other, and below you have We Fill the Void.
You know, I don't know if I got that kind of courage, Alan, but I love how you think, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The big and tall of political talk. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We love to engage our audience, hear what you have to say, and banter a little bit back and forth. You can join us 844-967-2789.
You know, it's not my thing, but some people, they do the Twitter, like the former president used to love the Twitter, right?
Yeah.
We do have a Twitter handle. You can tweet at the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio. And, you know, we might even follow you back. But Dom, I never noted KFC, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken. They've got a Twitter handle and they only follow 11 different accounts. They follow the Spice Girls and 6 guys named Herb. And the first guy that noticed that the Twitter account, you know, that's their secret blend, 11 herbs and spices.
Yeah, I got it.
So anyways, the first one to notice this company branding through their Twitter, 11 herbs and spices. Well, he got a painting of himself holding a drumstick while riding piggyback on the Colonel. That was his prize from KFC. And they've included the picture. And it's the original Colonel. It's not like the new commercial Colonel.
All the new ins and outs.
No, it's the original Colonel.
Yeah.
And a guy wearing like a hoodie, just riding his back, maybe with the drumstick.
It sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. I wish I'd have followed KFC. I might have noticed. Doubtful, but maybe.
And how did you notice it now?
Well, it was posted on social media, but not someone shared the tweet on Facebook. I found it there. You know, it's a repost, kind of like Trump's team has
in the Civil War. Yeah. Thumbs up on the Civil War, baby.
They take his troop social and repost his whatevers.
What a world.
844-967-2789. Let's hear from the leftist coast. And what I understand is the #1 gun buying state in the nation, California. LA Tom, how you doing?
Yeehaw. Pew, pew, pew. Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys. First off, we the people are the government. And second, the Republicans are the pro-death party. And that's what I got.
No, but they call themselves the pro-life party, Tom. I mean, that's like almost exactly opposite of what they say.
We have the facts on our side. They are the pro-death party. That's just who they are.
Why? Okay, Tom, give me a couple of reasons
gotta make
why the Republicans
couple
are the
bumper
pro-death
stickers,
party.
Some talking points here, Tom.
They are pro capital punishment. They are pro-war. They are pro not just letting children die, like in these carnages that are happening around the country. They are not for any type of housing for people that end up dying because they're living on the streets. They love death. They are the pro-death party. Everything they do is whether it's to start another new war, whether it's to do whatever. Everything they do is about death. It's like they really, really have a thirst for death.
Hang Mike Pence.
And that's why I'm calling them the pro-death party. And I hope people join along and change this narrative around. They are not a pro-life party. That issue that they're talking about is pro-woman's right to choose or pro the government's right to choose. Most women choose to actually carry a child to term, so that's a woman's choice. But they definitely are the pro-death party because once you're out of the womb.
Tom, you make a compelling argument, and I appreciate you bullet pointing those very specific issues. But maybe they're pro-life in the sense that they're pro themselves. They're pro. Ted Cruz is certainly pro Ted Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is certainly pro Marjorie Taylor Greene. So in that sense, they're totally pro-life, bro.
I'm not going to go that complicated on it, Dom. I'm just keeping it where they are the pro-death party, and they are the party of death and destruction. They don't take care of also when climate change is killing hundreds of thousands of people, through these earthquakes and tornadoes and all these different things. They're just the pro-death party. That's what they are. And like I said, I hope people call in and start actually giving them that moniker because they deserve it.
They do deserve it. I think you're right, Tom. Every time you hear a Republican announce or you have a conversation, someone says they're pro-life, you just tell them they're pro-death and give them Tom's 5 bullet points as to why they're pro-death. Thanks, Tom.
Number 1.
Hey, Mike Pence.
Let's keep going down the phones. Lots of friendly faces and names. 844-967-2789. Yeah, we got time for Bill from Oconomowoc. Hey, Bill, welcome back.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, thank you much. Say I'll add to the pro-death. Easily 200,000 died from COVID by listening to Fox. Easily. And the misinformation, they're drinking ivermectin and cattle warmer, they're drinking this, they're drinking that, and they're dying.
Try all the drugs, Bill.
Right. And let me add a few more. Had we not had M16s available like we do popcorn, had we not had Glocks and all this other stuff, let's throw in another 100,000 people, kids, young adults that would be alive today if they weren't packing heat. Thanks, GOP, Party of Death, pro-death. That guy hit it on the head. Falcon hit it on the head. And let's just keep building on it. We can keep adding more, but that's my contribution for today. And Ron Johnson, how fat is your wallet from the NRA? I just need to know today. How fat? How many hundreds of thousands have you taken? And by the way, when you were in Russia and Scotty Wanker was there, just to refresh your mind, the NRA wrote a check to Scotty. And you know who wrote the check to the NRA? The Russians. Thank you very much, Scotty.
Actually, I think technically Scott Walker never went to Russia. He just spoke Russian to the Russian spy, and the Russians gave the money as a pass-through to Ron Johnson.
Life is winning in America once again.
Look what you've done. I'm melting. Oh, what a world.
But she's a witch.
It's tremendously big and tremendously wet.
I find your lack of Devil Radio 92.7 disturbing. Do not fail me again.
Hey, Jimmy, it's Rocker. Meet me at the new Dark Horse Art Bar in East Wash. Happy hour is Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. You pick the day. 2-for-1 rail drinks and slices of Sal's tomato pies for $1. Jimmy, it's happy hour at the Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington in Madison, across from the Sylvie.
Madison's newest happy hour, craft cocktail, local art and music. Find out more at the new Dark Horse Art Bar and Gallery, online at darkhorsemadison.com.
the greatest radio show ever could be your greatest advertising investment ever. Partner with the Devil's Advocates and activate our loyal, educated, and engaged audience today. In-show interviews and sponsored special events considered across Wisconsin. Affordable digital and terrestrial ads available in Chicago and Minneapolis and directly on the Devil Radio app. Make a deal with the Devils and get the Devil's Advocates bump to your bottom line. Call or text 844-967-2789 today.
I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. President Biden calls on Congress to pass new, stronger gun laws following yesterday's killing of 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers in Texas.
Well, they clearly will not prevent every tragedy. We know certain ones will have significant impact and have no negative impact on the Second Amendment. Second Amendment is not absolute.
Michelle Gay's daughter, Josephine, was one of the 20 first graders killed nearly 10 years ago at Sandy Hook Elementary. She says signs were missed that the shooter needed help.
Changes in behavior over the last year of his life, social media postings that were opportunities to report and then provide intervention.
The State Department says the school shooting in Texas and other mass shootings hurt the country's standing abroad and give comfort to rivals and adversaries. I'm Tim McGuire.
I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-597-2010. That's 1-800-597-2010. 1-800-597-2010. Or go to selectquote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow. Normally, this space is reserved for headlines and commentary about the stories we cover in our daily newsletter. Today, there's only one story that matters, and so our newsletter is simply one editorial, calling out the people who we believe are more closely in line with the words baby killers. Our babies are being slaughtered in schools. Republican politicians, the ones saying you'll have to pry their guns from their cold, dead fingers, don't care about the cold, dead fingers of the children killed in Texas on Tuesday. They just don't care. We get into the money they've taken from the NRA and the bills they passed in the legislature this year, terrible ideas to allow more concealed weapons on school grounds, bills that will become law next year if Tony Evers and his veto pen aren't around after November. And we end with discussing what can we do right now. Get our newsletter by signing up at upnorthnewswi.com.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocate.
Welcome back. Pardon me. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We've got some sound from the president on the shooting in Texas. Let's play it now. Fancy Brian, going to need your help, please. President Joe Biden from just earlier, cut 25, please.
We must ask, when in God's name will we do what needs to be done to, if not completely stop, fundamentally change the amount of the carnage that goes on in this country?
More from President Joe Biden, cut 26, please.
I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired of what's going on. It continues to go on.
And Biden described weapons of war. Cut 27, please.
The idea that an 18-year-old can walk into a store and buy weapons of war designed and marketed to kill is, I think, just wrong.
You know, I'm going to pause here for just a moment. You know how they always talk about, well, if you're old enough to serve in the military, you're old enough to walk down to the Dick's Sporting Goods and buy an AR-15. Somehow they equate these two things. And I would point out, the reason they like these young, dumb kids in the military, and I was one of them, is because you don't have a completed functioning brain. You haven't gone through the final myelin sheathing. You aren't truly an empathetic, fully formed human being. And the military likes to weaponize that because mostly they need guys to go shoot at other guys in the military. That's your MOS. You shoot at people. So, you know, when you talk about, well, if you're old enough to serve, you're old enough to buy a gun. Well, maybe if you serve first, I'd make an exception. But if you haven't served, I think I heard comedian Chris Rock the other night, and he said, you know, maybe you should have to own a home to own a gun. If these guns are legally, the only established right so far is the right to protect your home with a gun. That's all the Supreme Court has come to so far. They may go farther, but you should own a home before you own a gun. You need something to protect, you know, at least per the logic.
Or maybe they should go into a war zone, you know, go to Ukraine, go and see the death and devastation of war. And maybe that will change the
perspective. Just like a first person shooter video game.
Not really. And it's not the video game. It's not the glamorization of the violence. I hear Republicans. Who was it? Who's the doctor from Trump's old doctor? He's down in Texas now. What's this?
Ronnie Jackson.
Yeah.
Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah, it's the rap music in the video games. I mean, if I got to hear this, no, it's not. It's not. It's the weapon. If they didn't have the weapon, even if we're influenced by, I don't know, religion or video games or music or movies or pop culture, whatever it is that would drive you, if you did not have access to a weapon that could cause mass carnage, you're not going to be able to cause mass carnage. I mean, it's really that simple.
Tom, you ever notice the logic of someone that argues, well, Joe Biden's caused spiking gas prices without ever looking beyond our borders and realizing, well, gas prices are technically much higher and it's a worldwide problem. It ain't Joe Biden's problem. It's all
and it's
problem.
A free market system.
But when you specifically talk about this gun issue and mass shootings, that's a uniquely American problem.
Oh, yes.
So if it was the rap music and the video games, Tom, might shock people, but those are available in Canada. Those are available all over the world.
I think Japan has a huge video game market there, and you don't see this happening there.
They have very restrictive gun laws, Tom.
Oh, wait, but come on. I mean, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
844-967-2.
Just for the record, I'm sorry, Crudy, I'm going to interrupt. 844-967-2789. You mentioned Dick's Sporting Goods kind of just off the cuff before, but I do want to. They did, after Sandy Hook, pull a bunch of weapons off of their shelves. I mean,
I thought they had restocked their shelves. Like that was a corporate decision made in the moment. And then, you know, when it became bottom line expedient, they just started selling them again.
Oh, I wasn't aware.
No, I don't go back. I'll be honest with you. I haven't gone gun shopping in Dick's in some time. Once you take a couple callers, I'll research their current shopping.
All right, let's do that. 844-967-2789. Catherine from Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome, Catherine. What do you got for us?
Hey, Catherine.
Hi. I'm sorry it's such a bad topic. I mean, you guys must have been having a hard time getting into work today, having to go through this all over again.
Yeah.
I heard somebody on some show referred to it as another Groundhog Day experience. We just go round and round with the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just called because I have two things that I wanted to say how much we appreciate your show. But you've had some really good shows lately. I really enjoyed it a lot. But we go around and around with doing the same things over and over. You know, we need to vote these people out and so forth. And we know nothing's going to happen now. So what I'm hoping is that I liked your idea that you had, Dom, when you said that maybe we need graphic photos. We need pictures of the carnage because we've heard about it and we've heard in our minds all these different horrible things, but it's not until we actually see the horror that people are going to start caring. And if we have the pictures shortly, you know, now it's not that far from the election, maybe we will get some of these Republicans out because they've got nothing to say.
I don't know how you
they've
could
got no plan.
publicly disseminate these pictures. They would
I
be
was thinking
so
about Emmett
graphic.
Till.
They would. I'm sorry, you go, Catherine.
Emmett Till's mother, remember, she had everybody see him in the casket, what they had done to him, and it was her decision. And I think that some parents would probably be allowed to release pictures, or maybe they would release pictures that they got or something, But I think it's just time we need to look at what's happening, and because we hear about it, and I think a lot of these Republicans and a lot of people in general are blocking it out of their mind. They just get used to it. It's over and over, and we're just getting desensitized. You remember that picture they had when there was I think it was a young girl, but a child that had washed up on the shore, one of the immigrants, I think it was in Europe. And that really moved people to try to do something about the refugees that were leaving these countries, just seeing the graphic of what
Well, it might
happened
have
to people
moved
dying to get
Europeans,
out.
Catherine, but I don't remember any of my neighbors changing a lifestyle.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't R&R shore too. I think maybe if it had washed up on, New York Harbor or something like that, maybe.
I bet you have a few bodies that have washed up on the Miami beach, let's just say.
Catherine, thanks for the call. And I think you're right. I think that's why I mentioned this. And I just think about, because I visualize in my mind, I mean, all the people, they were all in one classroom. I mean, think about this for a minute. Every one of those victims were in the same classroom. I cannot imagine what that place looks like. And this is not, some sort of fascination with the faces of death or any of those, old things back in the day. I mean, we're talking about children murdered for no reason with weapons that a kid should never, ever have. And if you're going to change it, we are a visual society. I don't think there's any question. I don't know how many people, really read a whole lot these days, and we can only articulate and describe so much on the radio. But to see that, and no doubt, the privacy, and there's pictures, obviously, it's a crime scene. There are pictures right now. People are looking at them. All right. This is the reality of it. But for some reason, we think that this is better left off, locked away in a safe somewhere. Got it. Granted, privacy of the parents and the tragedy of everything. I totally understand all of that. And that whoever would agree to that would have to agree to it. But the impact that kind of visual would have on this country, I think cannot be understated.
Dominic wanted to make a small clarification on Dick's Sporting Goods. Let's get it entirely right. After Sandy Hook, they stopped selling assault weapons in their Dick's Sporting Goods, the box stores across the country. But the corporation continued selling AR-15s and similar rifles in the Field and Stream hunting and fishing specialty stores. So they got the good press, and they also, kept their market outlets. It's a win-win.
I just want to point out to everybody, have you seen the Onion articles lately? Every single headline says no way to prevent this, says only nation where this regularly happens. Every single headline. The only thing difference is the location.
844-967-2789. Some patient people. Let's get to Pizza Box. How you been, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Oh, hey, guns. I've got a great idea before the Republicans come up with it for a bill next year. Guns in lunchboxes, right? Because what could go wrong with that?
Guns in where?
But,
in the lunchboxes, man. Maybe you hide it in the thermos, or make it look like a thermos, and it's actually a gun.
Hey,
yeah, the same.
Paul Ryan would tell you the kid doesn't want a sandwich in his lunch, because that would be selling his soul for nourishment. Just give him a gun and teach him how to hunt. He can go scavenge up his own lunch. Because when you got a gun, someone's going to give up their lunch, right, Michael?
You teach a man to fish.
I was just listening today. I wasn't going to call, but then I heard the word Christian. And by the way, I have Salvio Salvation, right? Which is you can bank on this. Every morning you'll be able to look up. And for at least 200,000 years of your eternity, you can watch me throwing hot coals from purgatory. Because yes, religion is the way to go, isn't it, John? I mean, I wonder if John understands how many Christian men murder their wives every year with guns, including like a whole
God's plan
that you can see. Yeah. You can see on cable a whole series of just Christian ministers that and by the way, they do a lot of this with handguns. So let's not just say it's assault weapons that are the problem. Well, we have 330 million guns we had at some point. Now, how many more do you think there are? There's got to be. But yeah, earlier in the year, Biden, we got to get rid of these ghost guns. And you know what? I'm sorry, but Joe Biden has been a part of this problem all the way up to before he became president, correct? I don't give anybody a pass on their work history. And this is something that is probably not going to be resolved. And especially when it comes to background checks and having guns registered, there are just too many people in this country that want to have that freedom to have a gun that you don't know about that they can shoot you with and probably get away with it.
America.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Yeah, lots of guns. Let's get more guns because that's the answer to too many guns is the logic for Republicans.
How about more callers in the meantime? 844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC. Welcome back.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, Pat Benatar might have to come up with a new verse for her song, Hell is for Children, what she said in there. But as far as Walker being in Russia, I don't know if he was in Russia, but either he was in a Russian or the Russians were in him with the whole Maria Butina thing.
You think he was compromised, Mark?
I think he was compromised. Walker's name now.
I believe it not.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, that it just
was it believable when he claimed he met the Maria Butina and the torsion guy at the NRA on the rope line, but he actually met him in the VIP green room?
Yeah, why would you lie about something like that?
Eventually greeted her, the very striking, Russian spy convicted, greeted her in the Mother Russian that he apparently learned in one of the few classes he attended at Marquette. Does that seem plausible?
I don't think that's very plausible. I mean, I'm just, and I'm a bad person because I'm halfway hoping the Red Death goes sweeping through the NRA convention and
maybe the NRA convention.
Yes.
Except no one's going to be armed.
All right. Well, no matter what happens at the NRA convention, Mark, apparently they're not going to let NRA armed. They're not going to let the arms, the A of the NRA part are not allowed at the NRA convention.
Oh, no, there'll be plenty of asses there. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
We became a pretty good governing party.
Your diary must look odd. Get up in the morning, death, lunch.
I'm really proud of what we've been able to do.
Right now, we all feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone, the isolation can be overwhelming. Connect with an older loved one and have the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorrEconnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
The Republican Party on a national level, how many years did they investigate Hillary and Bill? They're still going to that.
They're still looking for emails, right? But they don't look in the Trump septic tank for half the top secret classified documents that he was flushing during his term. When one party doesn't care about governing, just don't allow anything to happen when the Democrats are in charge. And then they think the American people are going to get boonswoggled and to vote Republican again.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and buy our woke gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
It's okay to have questions. Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so that you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of this fine show. So we're going to get to your calls at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I think we'll start with Mark from West Bend. Welcome, Mark. What do you got for us?
Hi, Mark.
Hey. Hi there. Yes, I guess I was, thinking about this, and this is happening so much. And I think the emphasis needs to be on how we need to start being proactive and getting a lot of these unregistered guns and just, guns off the streets. And I was just wondering if maybe we could do nationwide or barricades. You know how they do barricades for drinking and driving if you get caught drinking and driving?
Hey, slow down, fellow. We don't want any of those around here.
But if you get caught driving around with the illegal gun, I think, that should definitely be addressed. And
well, I don't want to be stopped and frisked, though, Mark. You know what I'm saying? I hear what you're saying, but even stopping cars on the street to test randomly for alcohol consumption is a little too far gone for me. Really, if that's how we're going to do it, we're just going to stop people because hey, we're going to put up a stop point here and check everybody just because. That actually kind of plays into what a lot of the right are concerned about, an overreaching, overextended government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, it's tough, dude. I hear what you're saying, but yeah. There's, I don't know. And thanks for the call, dude. And I appreciate you, thinking in those regards and trying to come up with something. You've done more than every Republican that I've seen quoted today, kind of come up with something, anything to address besides thoughts and thoughts. Thanks, Mark.
844-967-2789. CJ, the other CJ from Beaver Dam, the better CJ. Welcome, CJ.
Hey, CJ.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Hey, man.
Hey, my first thing is any senator that says thoughts and prayers, I got a place where I can shove their thoughts and prayers.
Amen, brother.
And the next time you have my rep, Mark Bocan, on, I believe he represents Beaver Dam, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you got Fitzgerald, CJ.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Well, either I don't think he's ever been on the show. But anyway, it's a very simple solution. If you're on the federal no-fly list, which is moderated by DHS, correct?
I'm not sure who moderates, but I'll agree.
Department of Homeland Security.
Sure,
yes,
maybe.
Sure. Yeah. So
TSA, I don't know, but go ahead.
Just let's get with the DOJ, the ATF, and let's do a no-buy list. You get any health, mental issues, make it mandatory for any mental health representative or psychiatrist or whatever, mandatorily report that, hey, this guy's thinking about or has made threats, because this kid's apparently already made a threat online or somewhere saying, I'm going to shoot something. So anytime you make a threat, it does not fall under the Second Amendment. And then the red flag would automatically either attain the weapons that they have or put them on a do not buy list that they can attain the weapons.
Yeah, but if someone's willing to, I appreciate the sentiment, and it would be a good start, CJ. But if the laws are so lax that you can buy a handgun out of the back of someone's trunk, that's really not going to solve the problem. You might solve the legal channels, might be a little harder for a domestic abuser, let's say, to go get a gun. But if guns can be readily purchased on the black market, there's still plenty of people that are going to have guns.
Okay, let me rephrase that. If I am bound and determined to shoot something up, I already do not have a gun. I've already got mental issues that are getting deep enough that if I have no lawful or unlawful record, I'm going to pass the background check.
Yeah.
But according to this individual, he's already had a psychological test and has already made threats before he even purchased any guns and before he was even turned 18.
Well, he actually purchased the guns, effectively
Legally.
as he was turning 18, and some of the ammunition as well. And that was like 3 weeks ago. I mean, the kid just turned 18. So he wouldn't have had like a criminal record as an adult, because if he had a juvenile record, he gets wiped clean. And short of having the gun store guy go and scour this 18-year-old's Facebook page, I mean, yeah, he made some postings the day he perpetrated, but I'm not clear that he left the bread trail all the way back and said, hey, sell me some guns. I got this really great plan to go shoot up an elementary school. And someone said, okay, here's the gun.
Thanks, CJ. I think from what and thank you all our callers and audience and for real and really appreciate it. And these are, we laugh and try to have a good time, but God, these are tough shows. It is tough to, contemplate and try to address these issues. But there's lots of areas for improvement. I think if there's one takeaway is that there are lots of places and little steps that we can take and lots of little areas that would help. Nothing's going to solve, because CJ, as you mentioned, if anyone wants to come in and go shoot something up, you're not going to stop that. You can't stop it. What we can do is reduce it. We can make it a little bit harder for those things to happen. 844-967-2789.
For a moment there, I was worried you were chastising me for being fat, but let's continue.
Jeff from Madison, not today, Curdy. Jeff, welcome. What do you got for us?
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. It's not a great week thus far, but I did drop something in the DM for you guys about class warfare, for a skit from the Daily Show, talking about preparing students for active shooters in the school. It's from 2007. It's a pretty good watch. It does have a Wisconsin tie to it, but I was just thinking, can't we have liability for the sellers and the purchasers? Maybe 3 or 5 sellers back. If a gun changes hands that many times, can we make those people liable for any crimes that are perpetrated with that weapon?
Well, maybe to the direct source, perhaps, Jeff. If I sell Dom a gun and Dom shouldn't legally own a gun and Dom shoots Brian, yeah, maybe some culpability should fall back upon me. The guy that sells the drugs that kills you.
Right. Thank you. Good point.
Is susceptible to prosecution under the Lenite bias law, or even supplies the drugs, or has sex with you for the drugs.
There's lots of ways to address these very terrible issues, and we appreciate your contribution and everyone's contribution today.
Way back earlier today, want to thank Charles Franklin, my fine guest, pollster extraordinaire, doing a Thursday edition. Dom, taking Friday off. I don't know if you knew that.
Wait, what?
Unless you're doing it without me.
We'll see. I usually don't like to do that.
See you on Friday Eve.
We're the ones who are acting suspicious and paranoid. We're the lunatics. Us. It's not them.
Insane and irresponsible.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning,